Imagine yourself in a small village in ancient India, surrounded by lush green fields and a calm blue sky. People lived simply, tending their crops and praying for peaceful days. It was into this setting that Gautama Buddha emerged, a young prince who, upon leaving his bubble of wealth and comfort, encountered the harsh realities of life, suffering, illness and death. From a young age, he realized that the answers to life's challenges lay not in material pleasures or riches, but in something much deeper. His journey began with a courageous decision, to leave the palace and live as an ascetic, seeking to understand the true nature of the human mind and the secret to a fulfilling life. As he walked among the trees and reflected on his experiences, he realized a fundamental truth: suffering does not come from events themselves, but from our reactions to them. It was this thought that led him to create the teachings that, centuries later, still transform lives. One of the most famous stories about Gautama Buddha teaches us about the power of not reacting. It is said that an angry man once approached him during a lecture and began to insult him, trying to anger the master. However, Buddha remained calm and simply smiled. He then asked the man, "If someone offers you a gift and you refuse it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man, confused, replied, "To the one who tried to give it to you, of course." Buddha then concluded, "The same is true of anger and insults. If I do not accept them, they remain with you." This simple, but powerful lesson shows how we can free ourselves from the emotional chains that often bind us. It is an invitation to develop the ability to observe our emotions without being enslaved by them. After this defining moment, Buddha continued to teach that true emotional strength comes from the ability to observe events without getting caught up in them. This does not mean ignoring emotions or challenges, but rather learning to see them clearly, without letting them consume us. He compared the human mind to a lake. When the water is turbulent, it is impossible to see the bottom. However, when the waves calm down, we can see everything clearly. Likewise, when our emotions are turbulent, we lose the ability to make wise decisions. But by learning to calm the mind, we can respond to challenges wisely, rather than reacting impulsively. To illustrate this idea, Buddha often taught the practice of meditation. He encouraged his disciples to sit quietly, observe their thoughts, and allow them to come and go, like clouds passing through the sky. "You are not your emotions," he said, "but the consciousness that observes them." One of his disciples once asked, "Master, how can I deal with people who constantly hurt or provoke me?" Buddha responded with a simple but powerful metaphor. Imagine that someone throws a hot coal at you. If you hold it, it will burn your hand. But if you drop it, it will not hurt you. This teaching invites us to reflect. How often do we hold on to hot coals in the form of resentment, anger, or hurt feelings? Learning to let go is not only an act of generosity toward others, but also a gift of peace to ourselves. One of Buddha's most transformative lessons was about finding a balance between emotion and reason. He never suggested that we should suppress our feelings or deny our humanity, but rather that we should learn to use them as allies, not enemies. In one of his stories, Buddha tells of a skilled archer who was trying to hit a target. If the bowstring was too loose, the arrow would not go far. If it was too tight, it would break. Only perfect balance would allow the arrow to reach its destination. He used this metaphor to teach that our emotions work in the same way. We need to adjust them so that they work for us, rather than distract us. A disciple with a hot temper once asked Buddha, "Master, how can I control my anger when it takes over?" Buddha, with characteristic serenity, replied, "Anger is like poison. If you ingest it, it will destroy you, not others. When you feel anger, pause. Breathe deeply. Ask yourself, is this emotion helping me or hurting me?" This simple pause can save you from many words and actions that you would later regret. Buddha also stressed the importance of not acting completely cold and rational. He believed that emotions, when understood, can be a powerful force for compassion, empathy, and connection with others. It is not about eliminating emotions, but about finding the point where emotions and reason meet to guide our actions in a balanced way. He said, "A balanced mind is like a candle in a windless space. Its flame burns brightly and illuminates everything around it." When we learn to maintain this inner balance, we can face any external storm with strength and serenity. Buddha taught that while we cannot control what happens around us, we do have complete power over how we react internally. He said, "You cannot stop birds from flying over your head, but you can stop them from building a nest." This simple metaphor illustrates how negative emotions can arise, but it is up to us to decide whether to feed them or let them go. One of the main enemies Buddha addressed was attachment, to both good and bad things. He taught that holding on to hurts, anger, or even expectations can create an endless cycle of suffering. When we hold on to negative emotions, such as resentment or envy, these emotions begin to control us, influencing our thoughts, words, and actions. In one of his stories, Buddha told of two monks who were crossing a river. They met a woman who needed help crossing. One of the monks, against the rules against touching women, carried her in his arms to the other side. After leaving her, the two monks went on their way. Hours later, the second monk, visibly upset, said, "I can't believe you touched a woman. How embarrassing." The first monk smiled and replied, "I left the woman in the river hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" This story teaches us the importance of letting go of things that no longer serve us. When we hold on to past problems or negative emotions, we carry an unnecessary burden that prevents us from living fully in the present. Buddha also encouraged us to cultivate positive emotions as an antidote to negative ones. He said that practices such as gratitude, compassion, and loving-kindness not only purify the mind, but also strengthen us to deal with life's challenges. When we focus on the light, darkness naturally dissipates. Alitsa final de Buddha, sober o poder, de nao reaja esta enraizada na aceticao. El numbers ensinava que resistir a realidade apenas prolonga nosso sofrimento. Quando aceitamos os eventos da vida como eles são sem rejeitá-los ou tentar controlá-los encontramos paz. El costumava dizer, a dor é inevitável, mas o sofrimento é opcional. A dor é uma parte natural da existência, seja física ou emocional. Mas o sofrimento nasce da resistência que criamos contra essa dor, quando insistimos que a vida deveria ser diferente do que é. Uma história contada por Buddha exemplifica isso. Certa vez, homem foi atingido por uma flecha. Ele gritava de dor, mas, ao invés de pedir ajuda, começou a questionar quem havia disparado a flecha, de onde ela vinha, e por que isso havia acontecido com ele. Buddha explicou que, enquanto o homem se perdia nesses questionamentos, ele continuava sangrando. A mensagem era clara, ao invés de resistir ou buscar culpados, devemos nos concentrar em agir com sabedoria diante da situação presente. Aceitação nao significa passividade. Pelo contrário, significa olhar para a realidade de frente, sem negar os fatos, e responder com clareza e serenidade. Quando aceitamos o que está fora do nosso controle e ficamos no que podemos transformar, nos tornamos verdadeiramente livres. Ao terminar seus ensinamentos, Buddha frequentemente convidava seus discípulos a refletirem sobre a impermanência de tudo ao nosso redor. Ele dizia, assim como o rio nunca é o mesmo a cada instante, nós também estamos em constante mudança. Abrace essa impermanência, e voce descobrirá a paz. Gautama Buddha's legacy reminds us that true power lies not in controlling the world, but in mastering our own reactions. He teaches us that by cultivating calm, balance, and acceptance, we can transform our lives and impact the world around us in positive ways. This journey is not easy, It requires practice, patience, and dedication. But each small step brings us closer to a clearer mind, lighter emotions, and a more harmonious life. So today, I invite you to take that first step. The next time a negative emotion arises, stop, breathe, and remember Buddha's words, "You are not your emotions, but the consciousness that observes them." Allow yourself to live with more ease and less reactivity. Remember, the power of not reacting is not just a skill, it is a form of liberation.